Welcome to Kingston Park, where Newcastle United make their debut in the FA Women's League Cup, hosting WSL opposition in Everton. In the first game in a particularly tough Group A, which also features Manchester United and Liverpool, leaving the Magpies as the only championship team in this group. And with just the top two progressing through to the knockouts, it's quite the baptism of fire, but a fitting test in terms of where the club aspires to be. Alongside myself, Ellen Ellard is former England and Everton defender Lindsay Johnson. Lindsay, you're from this part of the world and you know how important it is to have this standard of football in this area.
Yeah, it's massive, Ellen, to have Newcastle United women in the top flight. That's where they will think they belong, and I believe they belong as well. And to have a northeast club like Newcastle United to be up here as well as Sunderland, then that's fantastic, and it's great to see them back in the top two flights of the league.
So the floodlights on. Kingston Park is expectant and bouncing, the crowd flooding in. Everton, the opposition tonight, as we await the players to make their way out onto the pitch. We can let you know that it's 7 changes for Newcastle from the 2-0 win away at Portsmouth. Hannah Hawkins makes her first start of the season, replacing Claudia Moan in goal. Olivia Watt and Charlotte Potts join Rachel Furness and Demi Stokes in the back line. Hannah Greenwood, Katie Barker and Palace Loney, Izzy Sibley start as the experienced Sophie Hayward leads the line in hunt of her first goal of the season. Well, for Everton, it's 5 changes from their 1-0 defeat against Manchester United. The WSL's youngest goal scorer, Izzy Hobson, comes into the back line. Emma Bissell into the midfield. New signings Thomas Payne and Sarli start. And, well, your former club, Lindsay, always a challenge to predict how Brian Sorensen might arrange his players on the pitch, particularly amongst the back line and the midfield.
Of course, he always likes to have a fluid team. He likes players who can play in multiple positions, and he has a lot of girls on that team who are very versatile as well. So I thought he would rest more players tonight. With one eye on the game on Sunday against Arsenal, but he hasn't. I think he's gone with a really strong side, and there's opportunities for some young players. And this Newcastle side tonight, I thought would go with a very strong side, and they have, and they've got an opportunity for a result tonight against a team in Everton who are struggling in the league so far.
Absolutely, contrasting starts to their respective leagues. And Newcastle United, well, they will feel that they have an opportunity here tonight, and they'll need to perform here tonight as well. As we mentioned, this is such a tough group, isn't it, Lindsay?
Yes, it is. It's got Everton and it's got Manchester United and Liverpool, so it's got WSL teams plus Newcastle, but I would see it as a test for Newcastle. There's no pressure on them tonight. They're the small underdog, so they go out tonight and really show how far they've come against an established WSL side and enjoy it, be creative, maybe put a high press on Everton. We know Everton like to play out from the back, so if I was Becky Langley, I'd be encouraging my team for that high aggressive press, put Everton under pressure from the get-go and see if they can get an early goal. That'll really ruffle some feathers in this Everton side.
Well, talking of Becky Langley, the manager, a win percentage under her of 79.6. She has done an incredible job, and you have to mention, of course, the back-to-back promotions.
Unbelievable. I think Newcastle United will be obviously brimming with confidence because, they, like you say, they've had those back-to-back promotions. The fan base here is incredible, and it's been that way for the last 3-4 seasons. They've just built and built and built, and they're really leading the way in women's football. And so I think, you know, tonight is a really special occasion for them where they can test themselves against this WSL side.
So both sets of players into their huddles. The captain's now being called over by referee Grace Lowe. Amber Keegan Stobbs wearing the armband for Newcastle, and Megan Finnegan, club captain for Everton, now jogs over. Well, there's some experienced faces, isn't there, in that huddle, and you have to pick out, of course, Rachel Furness and Demi Stokes. What do you think will be said as we await kick-off in this huge clash?
Well, you can see there in the picture that Rachel Furness has got a lot to say, and it'll be words of encouragement. You can see that she's trying to get the girls up front. She's been there, she's done it, she's experienced in the WSL, experienced international player for Northern Ireland. She'll be a real voice. But Demi Stokes, for me, she leads by example on the pitch. You know, she doesn't say much, but what she does is really important and impactful for the players around and the girls in this Newcastle squad, where I think Becky Langley's signed some really experienced players. You've mentioned Furness and Demi Stokes, but you've got the likes of Deanna Cooper and Potts there as well, who are all experienced players, but they've got some really good emerging local talent as well, who will look up to the likes of Demi Stokes, European Champions winner, and a Lioness, and they'll really look up to her. They'll have watched her in the Euros as well, so it's just fantastic that she's on the pitch here helping this Newcastle United team move forward and progress.
So final preparations, the last tie of the laces, and the players take the knee as a reminder that discrimination in any form has no place in football. And it will be Everton who get us underway at the blow of Grace Lowe's whistle under the floodlights here at Kingston Park. What will it be? What will be key for Newcastle through these early stages? As you mentioned, there's lots of experienced faces, particularly in the back line. But also, you know, there will be a lot of excitement. What is going to be key for the first 15 minutes of this game for Newcastle?
It'll be really important for Newcastle, obviously, to get lots of touches on the ball, build themselves into the game, and really put a pressure on Everton. Take the game to Everton. Don't give them too much respect. You know, obviously they'll be aware of what they've got on the pitch and their established players that they have and the experience that they have, but obviously have the confidence to go at them. And what I've seen of Newcastle so far, they like to have a high press, they're quick in transition, and I would do the same again tonight against this Everton side.
Ball well picked out by Hayashi, and now it is Everton who are driving forward over on the far side. Emma Bissell on the ball, former Manchester City player. Spent time out in America in the collegiate system before returning to Everton, and well, she has been a bit of a handful watching her last season. She's a hard worker.
She's very relentless and she's very good on the ball. She's only a young player. She's physical, but she's direct as well. And we can see her just sitting into that sort of central position, just behind the front two.
Well, Newcastle inviting a bit of pressure on themselves. Rachel Furness and the experienced, calm head of Demi Stokes able to move that one out of the danger zone.
I think it'd be really important tonight for Newcastle to use the width and stretch this Everton side as well. They're really compact in that midfield, and they'll want to force Newcastle in that central area. So if they can keep their width and stretch this Everton side.
They're insistent on playing those quick balls out from the back, and it's something that Everton will be looking to pounce on. Hannah Hawkins between the sticks, her first start of the season. Signed from Durham in January of 2023. Claudia Moan being rested. Izzy Sibley's found space. Stobbs looks to one side and she does go for the Crystal Palace loanee.
Really good work in the midfield by Stobbs, just driving into that space. She's really good at breaking up play in that central midfield area. See Sibley out wide. It's the right thing to do, try and get that cross in. Good deflection by Everton though.
Sibley trying to get on the end of that ball once again. Newcastle maintain possession. Charlotte Potts under pressure. Does well to stand her ground, and that's a nice ball through the middle and then back out to Izzy Sibley. Cross well covered though by captain Megan Finnegan.
Really good bit of play by Newcastle, starting with Potts, wasn't it? Winning that ball back, threading the ball through into Stobbs in that central midfield area.
Another promising bit of attacking play from Newcastle. And they've found space once again. Sibley's there in support. Opportunity opening up. And there's the goal. The opener here at Kingston Park, and it's gone the way of the hosts who make their debut in this competition. Demi Stokes with the first goal for Newcastle in the FA Women's League Cup.
A great play. Potts again involved, and it's this through ball here. Fantastic ball. Just straight through, and it's is it McQuaid who just plays it back? No, he just plays it, that ball across the box there, and Demi Stokes coming in on the left-hand side. Just slots it into the back corner. A really well-worked goal by Newcastle United. And it's exactly what they'll have wanted in these first 5 minutes, to put that pressure on. And Potts, for me, has been fantastic in this opening 5 minutes. Really, as a centre half, demanding and threading that ball through to start that passage of play for that first goal for Newcastle United.
Yeah, Sophie Hayward who found the space, and Demi Stokes was there to pounce. And you have to say, Charlotte Potts doing such a good job, particularly as Olivia Watt tends to float a little bit further upfield, and now it's Everton trying to find the equaliser in quick succession. They've found space. Yeah, she can't quite get on the ball. Tony Payne still has space out on the far side. Hayward looking for the ball, but it just floats back the way of Izzy Hobson. Well, it's exactly the start that Newcastle would have wanted. It's what the crowd wanted. And particularly when you're faced against a goalkeeper with the prowess of Courtney Brosnan, that must give Newcastle a lot of confidence.
It was a fantastic finish, wasn't it? It's as though Demi Stokes was a forward as well, and she does like to get forward as well, Demi Stokes, but it was a great run. It was a great run on that left-hand side, and the ball pulled back across the box, and it just wanted someone to get on the end of it, and Demi was able to do that. Slots it into the bottom far corner. Fantastic finish.
So a reminder that if this game does end level after 90 minutes, we go straight to penalties. Each team receive 1 point each, and then a penalty shootout decides an extra point. And this is a game that Newcastle will be desperate to win when you look at the other two teams in the group being Liverpool and Manchester United. So important for Newcastle to get a good start in this competition. And they've made a great start in this game. Olivia Watt picking the pocket of Sarah Holmgaard.
You can see the confidence as well. I think Newcastle started with that confidence. The first 1 or 2 minutes, Everton put the pressure on, but Newcastle has definitely grown into this game, and that confidence of that first goal will be massive for them.
Absolutely. In the early stages, they were playing out from the back, and at times it looks quite nervy, and now playing with a lot of confidence, particularly that back line. Once again, Watt has ventured forward, and she's doing so well at just guiding the ball away from any blue shirt. Challenge here as she's up against Sarah Holmgaard, who ended last season in such good form. New signing Hayashi finds her captain Finnegan.
It's a really good press at the start as well from Newcastle. Just in this sort of mid-block, not pressing too high up the pitch.
Ball trickling through the defence, and out for goal kick for Newcastle United. And you can see the way that Potts just drops back And Furness comes to join as well, just in support of the keeper.
And as a centre-half at this point, this is what happens. They play out so deep at the back and so confident to play out from the back. And a lot is going through Potts at the moment. Sibley wasn't able to control it that time, but you can see that ball is on. It's definitely something that they've highlighted that they want to work on this game. Potts playing into Sibley. Sibley linking really well with Hayward up front as well.
Well, Sibley at such a young age already has so much experience in the Championship, winning it with Crystal Palace last season. And the confidence to continue to play out from the back, you know, particularly with a goalkeeper who hasn't made a start this season, and to do so and stick with that principle. A lot of faith in the setup and the vision of the manager. Courtney Brosnan just assessing her options and goes back to young Izzy Hobson, still only 16 years old. Talk about ends for WSL season. That goal against Arsenal really catapulted her into the limelight, not just from an Everton perspective, but an English audience as well. Bissell breaking free, and Demi Stokes does what Demi Stokes does so well, just guiding that away from her feet.
Just marshals it really well. Bissell had a heavy touch, didn't she? But Demi Stokes so quick, and her positioning is so good as well. It just shows that experience that she's got.
Ball pinging back, and it favours Everton. Demi Stokes appealing that run may have been offside. Sarah Holmgard is trying to get there. And once again, good defensive work from Charlotte Potts. Payne coming in field now. Thomas. It's crowded, and Thomas continues her run. Lucy Hope is open and choose to go backwards, and that's some good play from Newcastle and Sophie Hayward, who set up the first goal.
Really good collective press by Newcastle United there. They're in a threatening position, Everton, on the edge of the box, but they were able to just marshal them back, doubling up and winning that ball back.
They're finding space as well and driving forward. Sibley open once again and tries desperately to get back onto that ball. Just played far too short.
There's lots of space for Sibley out on this right-hand side, and with Everton playing that three at the back, sometimes it can be a little bit narrow, and she really is pulling on this right touchline here, really stretching this Everton side and creating lots of space for herself.
Well, now it's the Everton goalkeeper who's under pressure as they try and play out for the back, and we saw so many times Everton come unstuck last season with their insistence of playing out from the back. I remember particularly a game against Spurs, conceding 2 goals, making the same mistake twice, and that's something that Sophie Hayward has put herself in a position where she's primed to react to any of those mistakes, and you can already see the pressure that it's left Megan Finnegan under as Sibley and Hayward try and pick up the ball, and Hayward driving forward once again, assisting for the first goal, and that's some good work there as she punches the air, celebrating even those small wins there.
And rightfully so, it's an aggressive press, and they've obviously done the homework. We were talking just before the game, the philosophy at Everton is to play out the back regardless, and sometimes you can't do that. You've just got to let the ball go. Overplaying at the back makes you vulnerable, and Newcastle are really exploiting that at the moment.
That's great once again from Hayward. Wharton, Sibley. Furness. Well, a marauding run forward, and you could see what she was trying to do there.
Yeah, she had so much space, Furness, to drive into, and I think she probably accelerated a little bit too fast, and then the ball just too much on it. But you can see she was trying to play that through ball in, that Everton backline. You see how deep Everton are at the moment as well, just because of this high press that Newcastle have got them under.
Yeah, she's looking for Katie Barker, who recently celebrated her 100th appearance for Newcastle United. And they look very well drilled, don't they, in those moves. Trying to find those quick balls through or over the top. Something they've clearly practiced a lot in training.
Of course, and I think there's the work that Becky Langley and her staff do before the game, the research, because you've got to be adaptable for each team that you're coming up against.
Hayashi leaves it for Bissell, and Furness driving in and sends the ball out. Throw on the near side. Sibley clears it, but only as far as Hobson. Hope. Thomas in space and trying to find a way onto the ball. It was through Hannah Greenwood. And the players who have had the most touches so far from an Everton perspective are Hobson and Finnegan. Heavily reliant on particularly the centre-back pairing tonight.
Yeah, and they're ball-playing defenders, so they are good on the ball, but it just shows the confidence and the press from this Newcastle. It's great work there in the midfield by McQuaid to win that ball back for Newcastle.
That was some stunning play. Newcastle United's Player of the Month.
And that you can see from Everton, that's Tony Payne coming back into that right-back position to win the ball back for Everton. You can see now she's running back. They're so concerned about that diagonal or the through ball, particularly when Potts is on the ball as well, because she's been able to find that pass into the front three.
Long ball forward once again in hunt of Bissell, who just about kept that in, but the angle far too tight for her to do anything about it, and with no one running onto the ball, it was left for Demi Stokes. Well, that really is where you need a number 9 running in on.
If you're Everton, you've got to be if you're Brian Sorensen, you've got to be really disappointed in that. Bissell has done the right thing. She's been able to keep that ball in and puts in a really good quality cross, but there's no runners into the box, and that's what Everton struggled for the last couple of seasons, not scoring goals. Have signed the likes of Tony Payne, the Nigerian forward. They had some bad luck with the Spanish international forward Gabaro, who did her ACL. But really, you've got to, as a player, be busting your gut to get into the box there.
Yeah, well, Brian Sorensen has spoken quite openly this week, particularly about the injury situation. Aurora Ghali and Gabaro, both with ACL injuries in the space of a week. It's awful luck for Everton. And he says, particularly with the clash away at Arsenal at the Emirates this Sunday, need to take care of the squad and manage the players that they have available in the right way. That does create opportunities for the likes of Izzy Hobson, Emma Bissell, Lauren Thomas.
And it's about taking those opportunities as well when they arise, and that's what these players will be trying to do.
Hayward has dropped deep and does well, but eventually it's Everton who are back on the ball. Carolina Olesen.
can see now Newcastle have just dropped into that mid-block, making it really difficult for Everton to play through centrally. Just reducing those spaces in the ranks. Makes it easier then to win possession back of the ball. They're doing that really well. They're making the right decisions of when to press and when to hold. And that comes from communication and leadership at the back as well. The likes of Furness and Pot, experienced players.
It does feel like a team that in terms of experience is really building from the back, leading from the back as well. And then you have those young faces up front, the likes of Izzy Sibley, Jasmine McQuaid, who have that confidence, those fresh legs and flair. And it is McQuaid on the ball. Hayward, Sibley's in space and far too much space. Everton allowing Izzy Sibley.
Yeah, fantastic on this right-hand side again. This touch on the outside of a foot from Sibley, just into midfield, and then Hayward just links up again with Sibley on that overlapping run. Just the execution of that cross, too close to Brosnan, but really good play down that right-hand side. The link-up play from those three players is really good in this first 20 minutes.
You have to say as well, 7 changes. So this is not Becky Langley's usual starting 11, and still they're playing with that level of confidence. And we spoke about young players taking opportunities. You have to say the young players taking the opportunities are those in black and white.
And the front three for Newcastle are really young, aren't they? But they've got experience. Sibley, like you mentioned before, signed from Crystal Palace, and I think she has some Youth England experience as well. I think on the books at Chelsea. Barker scored lots and lots of goals and probably been the quietest out the front three so far this evening, because everything's going down this right-hand side for Newcastle so far. But really good link-up play with Sibley and McQuaid and Hayward.
You just wonder if and how Brian Sorensen might respond to the fact that they're being left and cut open on the right-hand side. And still you see on the opposing side, on the far side now, it's Tony Payne who's the one who's tracking back and having to do a lot of work there, when really the necessity is for players to get back on this side.
I think what he's done is Tony Payne, she didn't start there, but she's definitely dropped more into that right-back position. So they're more a back four, but still Lucy Hope on this left-back position, which she was the left of the three. She's still quite narrow, so there's a lot of space on this right-hand side. Not taking anything away from Newcastle, because Sibley's been excellent so far, and you know, she's very good with the intricate play and that 1 and 2 touch. That fantastic touch just round the corner with the outside of her foot was brilliant.
So Rachel Furness will wait to be welcomed back onto the pitch after receiving treatment. She raises her arms and asks why she's not been welcomed back on, and an opportunity for Izzy Sibley. Well, they keep opening up, don't they? Brosnan under so much pressure, she had to make herself very big there. But in reality, if from an Everton perspective, once again, allowing Izzy Sibley far too much space and time.
Everton defence just totally switched off, and Potts was able to see that space just again on this right-hand side. Lucy Hope just way too high, and Sibley on her back shoulder. Really good run. You just wanted her to chip Brosnan in the goal, but she couldn't get the right execution. But again, Potts involved, wasn't she?
Well, look how the positioning has changed now for Newcastle and where they're starting their attacks. They're so much higher up the field because they've sensed that the back line of Everton is not at full strength, and there's opportunities to breach it.
They're vulnerable, but they've got experienced players. Meg Finnegan is very experienced centre half, been in the WSL for a long, long time. Lucy Hope, very experienced as well. So I think the pressure that Newcastle have put on Everton have made them a little bit more vulnerable in this first 20 minutes of the game.
While trying to find an equaliser now, Tony Payne chips it back. And just nowhere near the execution that they needed. Emma Bissell spent far too long trying to decide what to do there. Her hesitancy has cost Everton a goal. And that was clear and obvious, no doubt about that. There'll be a booking.
Yeah, really good play down the left-hand side for Everton. Tony Payne on the wide left. And like I say, Bissell, she tries to take another touch, but it is good defending from Stobbs just behind, able to nick that ball off her. But you can't dwell on it in that position. You've got to put your foot through it. But good defending by Stobbs in that 6-yard box. Has to time that tackle right.
If you are an Everton player, and you know we've seen them on so few occasions venture that close to the goal, you have to take your opportunities when you're stood dead central with the ball at your feet.
Again, it comes against the run of play, that attack from Everton.
And Sibley picks it up on the edge of the area, just takes a moment, assesses her options, nice cross. So close to another for Newcastle United. Katie Barker rushing in, and I think rushing, potentially the right word there, is a little bit too hurried and sends it out over the top.
This time it's Furness with the diagonal ball over Lucy Hope's head again, and Sibley with a really wicked cross into the box. Drops kindly for Barker, but she's just leaning back slightly. Bit of pressure from Tony Payne at the back as well. Blazes it over the bar. She'll be disappointed that she didn't get that on target at least. Newcastle are really exploiting Lucy Hope in this left back position.
And continuing to pile on the pressure. That time it was Jasmine McQuaid. Hayward almost taunting the Everton keeper there. Everton are expecting a lot of Tony Payne to sit back in that position, but then also come diagonal and try and create opportunities in front of goal. And you just wonder over the course of 90 minutes how long that can last and how long she can sustain it. Watt back to Potts, who opts to go back to the keeper Hawkins. A little bit of frustration coming out from an Everton point of view.
They're disjointed because of the pressure that they've been put under by Newcastle tonight. You can see then Bissell's, she's pressing in isolation. She's going on her own, putting a lot of work up front, but the team isn't going with her. And then Lucy Hope, who's not having a great evening so far, finding it difficult on this left-hand side, gives her a free kick away.
McQuaid doing well once again under pressure. Sibley.
We've just not seen for Everton Hayashi involved in this game at all, and she's a creative midfielder. She needs to be on the ball. I know she's on the ball at the moment, but that's the pressure that Newcastle have put on them in this central midfield position.
Certainly used their physicality when they needed to, and Courtney Brosnan has gone down and is calling for the referee. She's outside her area. As the Everton physio jogs on, players taking an opportunity to take on some fluids. Fast approaching the 30-minute played mark. You have to say, dream start for Newcastle United in this competition.
Fantastic start, really solid. They look very organised from the back. You know, they're leading Potts and Furness in that centre half position, really looking to play the balls into midfield or even into those front three. Those through balls have been really hurting Everton in this opening period of the game. But the front three for Newcastle have just been fantastic, haven't they? Particularly Sibley on this right-hand side, and a link-up play with Hayward and McQuaid in that sort of 10 position as well. So Becky Langley's got to be really happy with how they've started the game. And Brian Sorensen will be the opposite, because they'll have come here tonight, they've come out with a strong squad and they'll be wanting to get a result to help with their confidence. They've lost their first 2 games. It doesn't get any easy for them. They've got Arsenal at the weekend, so to come here tonight and put on a good performance and hopefully in their eyes get a win, but it's just not been that way for them because of how well Newcastle have started the game.
You could just see Sophie Hayward just off picture put an arm around Izzy Sibley. And to think that this isn't a front line that starts together regularly at all. It's not a front line that started together in the league. You wouldn't say that they're not in sync. They've been flowing, particularly the link up between Sophie Hayward and Izzy Sibley has been working incredibly well. And you have to say, Sibley, I know it is an incredibly stacked front line, and Becky Langley has so many options up front, but she's pushing for a start in the league if she keeps performing like this.
And that's exactly what Becky Langley will want. This is a great opportunity for the Newcastle players. Come and test yourself. You've not had as many minutes as you might have wanted at the start of the season, so come and prove yourself and test yourself against a WSL side. And at this moment in time, that's exactly what Sibley's doing.
So much squad depth and the opportunity. You have to say, some clubs may use League Cup and FA Cup games to rotate the squad, but for Newcastle United, when they only have WSL opposition coming up, it's a different but exciting challenge for these young players. Home guard. Forced down a cul-de-sac and Ollison picks up the charge. Flag was up.
I think Brian Sorensen, his team, used that sort of injury time with Brosnan to make some tactical changes, and we thought that Hope would start on the right. She's now switched over to the right-hand side, and Holmgaard's dropped into this left-back position. I think that's where she's more comfortable, Lucy Hope, on the right-hand side.
And Holmgaard, definitely a more defensive-minded player. You know, she did start as a defender at Everton, and I think she did so well coming out from the midfield, and she scored a couple of really good goals at the end of last season. So maybe a tendency just to play a little bit further forward, but Brian Sorensen reacting and knowing that with Izzy Sibley being able to tear open that near side, that they need to make some changes defensively, and it also frees up Tony Payne to start venturing forward off the left-hand side.
And it's credit to Sibley that, you know, those changes have been made, but as well, I like when managers in the game make changes, because if it's not working, why stick with it? Change it. You've got the personnel to do it. It's the right decision.
Ollison trying to force an error from the keeper. And that's better from Everton and Izzy Hobson. Thomas. Payne picks it up. Now on the edge of the area, looks for her options. Thomas with a slightly heavy touch. Holmgaard's open, and we'll have to chase that ball from Finnegan, who overhit it, and you can see the frustration on the face of the Everton captain.
And that was the first bit of sustained possession that we've seen from Everton in a long time, and then uncharacteristically just careless on the ball by Finnegan.
You feel the other tactical instruction from Sorensen must have been get high when the defence are on the ball, because you could see the position held by Visari and Lauren Thomas. What? McQuaid driving central. Barker's open and it's just overhit slightly. She picks it up and turns. Back to McQuaid. Sibley's there. Olivia Watt trying to keep this alive. Less than convincing overhead ball from Izzy Sibley, but they've got the confidence to do stuff like that.
I think McQuaid, when she was just outside of the box, outside the 18-yard box, I thought she was going to take the shot on, and she tried to thread that ball into Barker. It was a difficult ball to play. Again, come out to her, and it just didn't get your shot off, but they wanted to try and play through the Everton back line.
Into the last 10 minutes of normal time in this first half. Newcastle United leading by a goal to nil. An early goal that has really set the tone for this game, and that has been Everton chasing, but an opportunity opening up once again. It's Emma Bissell once again. Now Sari. So regularly they're just forced backwards.
It's a fantastic challenge by McQuaid, wasn't it? Really strong challenge. Yeah, she thought she had more time, but not with a player like McQuaid sniffing around her.
No player that's so good up front, but then it can also do her defensive duties well and control the midfield when needed. And Demi Stokes is having to work hard there to keep that away from Tony Payne. Sala Holmgaard. Finnegan slowing things down. Sari. Holmgaard. Thomas is there. That's well guided away by Newcastle United, who now try and break through their captain Stobbs. Hayward's there. She doesn't have anyone else in black and white to support. A really good turnover of the ball there from Newcastle United.
Yeah, great. Quick transition from their own 18-yard box to then get into Everton's final third. But to realise it's not on, recycle the ball and look for another opportunity, which is what they've found now.
Sibley and Watt once again. Nice bit of skill from Olivia Watt. Greenwood. Stokes up against Lucy Hope and has to go backwards. Newcastle United, though, looking very comfortable with this patient build-up, and Stokes, scorer of that goal within the first 10 minutes of the game. Ventured more into a midfield role as Barker tries to battle her way back onto the ball, and she does it well. Stays on her feet well.
Great build-up play by Newcastle. Demi Stokes just being that extra person in midfield, and again Potts just driving through, and a nice pass into Barker into that centre forward position, and then she turns, drives at the player, and Izzy Hobson's reckless there, doesn't she? She dives in and gives away a free kick in a really dangerous position here for Everton.
So Courtney Brosnan just adjusting her wall as Demi Stokes drops back to talk to her goalkeeper. It will be Demi Stokes who stands off from this, while everyone else, apart from Rachel Furness as well in black and white, is looking to make a nuisance of themselves. That's a great attempt at goal. Straight to the keeper though, and now it's Everton who look to break. Good composure from the captain, Stobbs, to guide that away as home guard was charging forward, looking to make something down the other end.
She read it really well. She watched Brosnan all the way, tracked home guard, was able to then use her body just to win that ball back. Important that she did as well. Home guard would have been in.
Barker. Well, you could see even that Izzy Hobson, well, she thought that had gone out, and another little error creeping in as Lucy Hope just goes and has a slight word, giving away a corner.
You can see the body language of the Everton players, just their shoulders are hunched over a little bit, heads down, and that'll be exactly what Newcastle will want to see.
So Hannah Greenwood stood over this corner. In swinger, nicely placed. Brosnan there to defend her near post. Now Payne has lit up the far side. Good pace, but Newcastle United defence saw that all the way through. Hayashi now. Sari just getting round Sibley, and her shot straight at the goalkeeper.
It was good doubling up again from Newcastle there. Sari here on this left-hand side. Hayashi just pulls it out to her. But again, good marshalling there on that left-hand side from Sibley. Again, coming back to do a defending job. Sari's just got a little bit more involved in these last 5 or 10 minutes for Everton. But Newcastle looking really strong at the back.
Nice once again. Hayward back to Sibley, who's central, and Hayashi picking her pocket. Hope can't keep the ball at her feet. Oh, listen, just opting to jump over that ball. I think she thought that Finnegan was coming in behind and concedes the throw-in to Newcastle. More back to Potts. You can see that pair of Thomas and Sari charging forward. Looking to get amongst the Newcastle back line, but it's a back line who have stood incredibly strong when they have been under pressure.
You can see when Newcastle are out of possession, they're very quick to just secure up those ranks and go in that sort of 4-1-4, one position and formation, which makes it really difficult for Everton to play through.
Yeah, a very well structured team, both in and out of possession, as Thomas loses out and they go shoulder to shoulder.
She does a lot of work in midfield, Stobbs, doesn't she? She breaks up the play. She's very good at that aggressive press. Doesn't leave that player alone until she's won the ball or won a free kick.
Leads by example, the Newcastle captain. McQuaid, really nice once again. Haywood picks up the attack. Newcastle just finding it a little bit hard to break down centrally now. I think with, Everton opting for a bit more defensive width at the back, Newcastle trying to go a bit more direct, and it hasn't quite paid off yet. McQuaid. Stokes was looking for the overlapping run.
They're really comfortable for Stokes to do that and to have those two central defenders. Obviously, Watt coming back round to cover as well if Demi does go higher. And that shows the confidence in this Newcastle side at the moment.
Everton with a free kick after Katie Barker just a little bit heavy on the back of Lucy Hope.
No nonsense from Rachel Furness there. We're used to seeing that over the years with Rach Furness. Hopefully Tony Payne's okay, but nothing wrong with that challenge.
Oh, she has so much experience, doesn't she, Rachel Furness? Not just in the Championship, but in the WSL international level. She has something for every situation and every opposition.
She's one of those players, when you used to play against her, she always causing a problem, always involved. You knew she was going to put in a good challenge, physical, but really, really good at leading her team and encouraging her team and making sure everybody knew what jobs and roles and responsibilities each player had to do.
So 3 minutes of additional time added on at the end of this first half, as Tony Payne continues to receive treatment down on the far side. Scored some good goals in her time as well. Rachel Furness, both in the WSL and in the Championship.
Yeah, a lot with her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Won't be long, you imagine, until the home crowd here at Kingston Park are treated to a Rachel Furness header at the back post. I hope it's not too long until Tony Payne gets back to her feet and right on cue. Assisted to her feet by the physio. She'll have to go off to the sidelines and wait to be invited back on by referee Grace Lowe. So well into the closing stages of this game. The 3 minutes of additional time already ticking over, but you imagine with the referee's discretion due to that injury to Tony Payne, we'll have a few more additional minutes added onto that 3. Everton looking to find the equaliser, and that's well tracked by Charlotte Potts, who saw that all the way out.
Really good defending from Potts. Just marshals it and then uses her body really well. I think she's had a really good game, her and Furness so far. And you can see they're congratulating each other for marshalling that out. It's really important as a defensive unit that you do congratulate when you make those challenges.
Once again, some really nice play from Amber Keegan-Stobbs to chest that down. Just seems to be flying in whenever someone needs her. Stobbs always finds a way. Hayward, Sibley behind her. What there in support as well.
Everton have won it back, but then there's no outlet for them, so they've got to then wait till they get into their positions and then drive out. It's a really good high press from Newcastle, just limiting the space that Everton have to play in.
Ollison finds Tony Payne back up on her feet over at the far side. Thomas set to chase. Up against the very experienced Rachel Furness, and a goal kick for Newcastle United.
Furness has just watched Potts on this right-hand side and thought, anything you can do, I can do.
So Grace Lowe, the referee, signals the break, and at half-time it is Newcastle United who lead by a 0-0. Goal coming 5 minutes into the first half. Sophie Hayward setting up Demi Stokes, who was rushing in and found the back of the net. And, well, Lindsay Johnson, a first half that Newcastle United, in their debut in this competition, can be very, very happy with.
Yeah, Becky Langley will be proud of her players. They've come out and obviously they had a game plan and they've stuck to it, and they've been really organised in defence. They've got a game plan. Their phase of play is to play into Potts, try and thread into midfield if it's on in behind, and they've highlighted a real issue here in the left back position for Everton, where Sibley has been immense. On the ball, she's creative, she's hard to take the ball off, but those runs in behind and runs on the back shoulder have been really difficult for Everton to deal with, and her link-up play with Hayward in particular been fantastic. So Becky Langley will be really, really happy with her players going in at half-time.
Yeah, Newcastle United manager certainly will be the happier of the two here at Kingston Park at half-time. It's Newcastle United 1, Everton 0. Newcastle United will get us underway. Waiting on the blow of the whistle from referee Grace Lowe. So a change that potentially, Lindsay Johnson, you're expecting there with Claire Wheeler coming on.
I expected changes, yeah, and I think it could have been a number of players for Everton. I think, you know, there was particularly a number of players who didn't perform well in that first half. So Lauren Thomas is the person who has been sacrificed for Wheeler, who's an experienced player for Everton. Athletic, quite physical in that midfield area, and they need that.
You can see that physicality already as she goes over to plead with referee Grace Lowe.
I think you think as a manager and as a player, you talk about battles and where you won, where is it the pitch did you win and where did you lose, and I think in that first half you would talk about in the defensive area, Newcastle on top, midfield area, Newcastle on top, and definitely the front three, Newcastle on top.
Trying to keep that ball in on the far side and just trickles out.
We normally talk about what the the manager says at half-time to his players. And we saw Brian Sorensen on the pitch at half-time and not with his players. So that speaks volumes, I think. Maybe he went in, give the hair dryer, and then walked out and let the team try and come up with solutions themselves.
Tony Payne. Her position's changed through this game already, and you can see looks a lot more comfortable when she's going forward. Change of position in the back line, change of order just to give an extra bit of width, allowing Payne to get forward on this near side on the right. And Everton coming out with something to prove. Sari didn't quite have the right angle to send that towards Tony Payne, who was in a good position and waiting.
Be interesting to see. Tony Payne was, like you say, Ellen, was dropping back in that first half, and that was because of how well Newcastle were playing, and they were pushing her back, further back. She was more worried about what was going on behind her, but she's a threatening player, and she'd be looking to get on the ball high and wide in the Newcastle half.
You can already start to see the impact that change has made, bringing the experienced Claire Wheeler in. Just look a little bit more settled now in midfield, as Wheeler coming in centrally to partner with Hayashi. Home guard. Falls nicely for Hope, and that's great defensive work from Newcastle there.
Yeah, it's Barker, isn't it? Comes back, just takes it off Lucy Hope's foot. You can see her just retracting her leg back, ready to just hit it on the half volley. Barker with an important interception.
And once again for the number 9. You're under pressure, early pressure now from Everton, has dropped back and doing well to try and keep things quiet. Hobson, WSL's youngest goal scorer, trying to set something up here. Wheeler chasing, and firm shoulder from Rachel Furness.
Good strong defending by Furness. We've seen her use her body so well, and she does it again then. But you can already see from Everton's point of view, Wheeler, who is kind of starting in that sort of deeper role in centre mid, but does like to get forward and make some good runs through the midfield and into that forward line for Everton.
Well, they really needed someone, didn't they, Everton, to knit this team together, and it looks like Claire Wheeler's done that. Opportunity here, and an equaliser for Everton. Forced over. Emma Bissell, she's been getting herself in those positions. She's been threatening and forces the ball over. And Hannah Hawkins, well, she'll be disappointed to concede in that manner.
Yeah, it's Wheeler involved. She threads that ball into the backline for Tony Payne, who puts a first-time ball in, and it's, you know, it kind of trickles in, but Bissell's able to get her foot on it. She's in the right area, but Newcastle will be disappointed with the defending there. Should have tried to get rid of that a lot earlier. But already the sub in Wheeler has had an impact. And as we highlighted, Tony Payne's definitely been involved in that.
Well, it's contrasting sides. You know, Newcastle, the championship side, but they have so many experienced heads, so many experienced players, and a lot of big voices outside of that of just the captain. And you felt the complete opposite with Everton. That Wheeler coming on to provide some vocal instruction. You can already see as she points and shouts instruction, just the role that she plays. And it's what Everton were missing, and back level early in this second half. Newcastle with the corner though. Barker under pressure from Wheeler and Ollison.
And Becky Langley will be now looking at how her players react to conceding a goal, because there's plenty of time left in this game.
And they'll take so much encouragement from that first half. Everton have come out and looking to put that first half behind them. Scored early in the second, and it's all level here at Kingston Park. And if it finishes level, we will go to penalties. Each team will receive 1 point each, and then a penalty shootout to decide that extra point. Just the top 2 in each group going through to the knockout stages, and this is a particularly hard group for Newcastle United, the only championship team involved. Manchester United and Liverpool, the other 2 teams. But for Newcastle, an opportunity to prove themselves against teams that they'll want to be competing against next season as they push for promotion in the championship. Everton have come out with so much more fight in terms of trying to win the ball back. Those are balls, particularly as you can see there with Izzy Sibley, that they let go in the first half, and that was how they conceded. And this time round, being so careless.
And sometimes you need that, someone to come on and just give that a little bit of leadership.
Opportunity opening up here for Katie Barker. And Courtney Brosnan got a palm to it, and that's out for a corner. But the space opening up once again.
Yeah, it's poor defending there from Everton. The ball drops kindly for Barker. Takes just a fraction of a second too long to get her shot off. And it is deflected out for a corner.
Now changes will be made. And they will be made for the home side.
Definitely Everton have come out with more purpose. Obviously, had a word with themselves in that first half and said it wasn't good enough. Bringing on a player like Wheeler, experienced player.
Nicely weighted ball. Barker once again. And that's good for McQuaid to stop any counter from Everton. Barker and Sibley now switching sides. Really good from Demi Stokes, and a bit of a scramble to get back on the ball, and it's Lucy Hope that does so. Well, interesting to see Newcastle just invert the wingers on each side. Potts driving forward. And the standout players in the first half. Barker driving towards the area, some nice footwork. Has to go backwards. Sibley once again in space. Demi Stokes waiting as well. And that will be a goal kick for Everton.
Good defending by Holmgaard there on that left back position. Yeah, going back to what you said about those inverted fullbacks, Demi Stokes will be used to that from playing at City. They do it a lot. Obviously creating that overload in midfield, but leaving a lot of space on that that left-hand side for other players to play into.
Alessia Body, the player coming onto the pitch. Another player who has plenty of experience at championship level, signing from Bristol City.
Interesting stuff. I thought Stubbs had a really good first half, but in its first 10 minutes, she's been quiet in that central midfield position. Wheeler's done really well, but given Body some time and minutes on the pitch.
Yeah, well settled in this side, Alessia Body. Second season with the club. She started last time out against Portsmouth. But once again, Everton coming forward, and Tony Payne was rushing onto that one. Couldn't quite get there. The flag was up anyway.
It's a good attack by Everton on that left-hand side. It's a nice ball in by Holmgaard. Whipped in. Always hard to deal with as a defender when it's just in that 6-yard box. But offside, so Newcastle win possession back.
Oh, a long ball forward this time. Newcastle were preferring to play out from the back. Wheeler back up to her feet, and
she's not happy, McQuaid, is she? She's adamant she got the ball.
More changes to be made for Everton. Even before the numbers shown, Lucy Hope knows that it's her time to come off. Hella Payne coming on. And Katja Snoyce as well. The other change for Everton. Players that we know can make an impact.
Two experienced players coming on for Everton. Snoyce will be someone that Newcastle need to keep an eye on. She's great she loves to press, and she's very good at pickpocketing defenders and can score goals as well. So someone for Newcastle to be very aware of.
Oh, that's very good from Alicia Body. Yeah, Katja Snoyce definitely that's a different threat to what Newcastle United have been used to throughout this game so far. Unable to match the tally that she had in her impressive first season last season. Looking to make an impact off the bench. A quick touch there. Payne. Just about finds her way through. Ollison. Wheeler. Tony Payne. Things starting to link together for Everton. Finally, Demi Stokes able to clear.
Just unable to get possession of the ball at the minute, Newcastle. Got to try and ride this out. Get their positioning right. They can see now they're back into that 4-1-4 position. Organised, trying to make it hard for Everton, but Everton have definitely come out with more impetus in this second half.
Ollison taking her time, looks for options. There's space. She drives into it.
I think Rachel Furness played that really well. Not sure it was a free kick, but she's wise, she's experienced. She's able to win that free kick. She knows that her team's under a bit of pressure at the moment. Everton have definitely come into this game. They're linking up a lot better. Seem a lot more organised, with Wheeler leading that from that midfield position, allowing Hayashi to get forward and link up with Snoyce.
An opening for Newcastle. Horribly defended by Everton. I need to make the most of these opportunities.
It's really good defending by Watt in that right back position. It's hard when you're facing away from goal, and Sari had the run on her as well. She was coming at her speed, but she uses her body really well. Strong in the tackle and is able to win that ball back for Newcastle.
particularly in the back line, Newcastle United have the players who are able to weather storms. And Everton looking more like themselves with those changes made. But still all level here at Kingston Park. Hawkins once again just inviting some pressure onto herself. She's dealt with it well so far over the course of this game, considering that she's not the regular starter between the sticks for Newcastle United.
It's really competitive out there at the moment. You know, there's a press from both teams, particularly in that midfield position. Neither team wanting to give either time on the ball.
More changes coming for Newcastle. Lois Joel coming on. Demi Stokes. One coming off and has the role of handing over the armband, which she's worn temporarily. She passes that now over to Rachel Furness. And Amy Andrews, the other player, making her way onto the pitch.
Substitutions for Newcastle United, women leaving the field, number 21, Jasmine McQuaid, number 3, Demi Stokes.
Jasmine McQuaid, the player who's come off in that change as Amy Andrews has come on. Well, she scored her first goal for the club at the weekend in the first half against Portsmouth.
It should be full of confidence. Andrews getting that goal at the weekend. We wanted to test herself against this Everton side.
Yeah, there was starting to become a bit of a feeling that with Everton shoring up that defence and the midfield as well, Newcastle needed to respond and bring on some fresh legs up front. They've done that. Fresh legs in the back line as well. Payne fighting to get back onto the ball. Loses out, and now Newcastle looking to move it quickly. Sibley on the far side. Andrews just overlapping slightly, and it's now Everton trying to break down the other end. Heather Payne asking for the ball. She's open on the near side. Newcastle United fans not happy with that decision to let play continue.
Yeah, I think it was the ref is in a good position. She could see it. I think it was the right decision, but obviously as a Newcastle supporter, you're not going to be happy with that.
From their perspective, Izzy Sibley thankfully back up onto her feet and tried to get onto that ball. She was up against Sarah Homegaard though, who has dropped more defensive in this second half.
We can see now, I understand why Becky Langley's made those subs. You know, you want players to get minutes, particularly against players from a higher league as well, but you can see there's a little bit of fatigue now. Newcastle just aren't as high in that transition period with that front three and the personnel change, so when they do win the ball back, They don't have the players in transition up front. And Everton are picking those balls up much easier in that central position.
Home guard. Ollison. Payne's found space. The vision was there. She didn't quite have the pace to get onto it.
And I think Brian Sorensen will be pleased that definitely players' sort of effort and endeavour has been better in this second half from his perspective. But still, just that quality lacking at times for Everton, giving the ball away at times needlessly.
Bit of friendly fire there as Wheeler quickly back up onto her feet after taking the ball to her face. Able to just brush that one off.
Yeah, she styled it out really well, didn't she? She got straight back up.
Payne under pressure and... Well, the Newcastle fans not happy with that call at all either. Everton once again trying to work the ball up that far side. Sari couldn't quite find the overlapping run for Salah Homeguard.
But you can see that they're linking up a lot better, Everton, in this second half with the personnel changes. Again, Wheeler, we can see her driving her team forward. Just sitting in front of her back four as well, allowing Sari and Hayashi to move forward and to look for those gaps and spaces.
Interesting that it was the change bringing Claire Wheeler on that did really spark this change in attitude and drive on the field for Everton. I think plenty would say in the WSL regularly goes unnoticed in terms of her contribution, but stark to see the difference this evening between Everton without Claire Wheeler and Everton with her. Everyone just seems to now be in defined positions, and I know obviously there's been a number of other changes since, but they looked quite the lost team in the first half, and now everyone understanding of their role.
I agree, and every team needs not just one leader, a number of leaders, and I think Everton will looking like they didn't have anybody to take that role up in the first half. And changes needed to be made. But Newcastle still working hard in this game. Still look a threat going forward, but players like Barker are having to drop deeper and deeper to help out the midfield and defence. They really want her a little bit higher up the pitch so she can get involved and be a threat going forward.
Looks like there'll be more changes for Everton as well next time the ball goes out of play. Joel. Big signing this summer for Newcastle United from London City Lionesses. Just another example as well where Newcastle have really brought well to bolster their back line, knowing that the Championship, it isn't an easy league to be in by any means, regardless of how much you spend and how many bodies you can bring in. Potts driving forward. Picked up by Barker. Collected by Courtney Brosnan.
Potts with a great run again. We saw that in the first half, didn't we? We're not really seeing it in the second half, but really a great marauding run forward through the Everton midfield, causing problems. Barker opted to have a shot on goal, but Everton were able to get a challenge in.
We're quite a way away from the benches, but one figure you can easily pick out who's coming on is Justine van Avermaet. The tall figure currently receiving instruction from Brian Sorensen, who's directing with his arms. Sala Holmgaard, one of the two players coming off. Hayashi is the other. Van Avermaet has come onto the pitch. I'll bring you confirmation of the second substitution. Changes also being made for Newcastle United. Sophie Hayward, who set up that first goal, being replaced. Hannah Greenwood is coming off as well. Kelly, one of the two to come on. And it looked like Gibson also introduced to the action.
Lots of changes by both managers. So both saying, you know, we're going to use this game to get as many players on as possible. But still, both managers will want this win tonight. It's important for them both in different ways. Everton need that confidence, had a poor start to the season. And Newcastle want to carry this good form, unbeaten this season so far.
And of course want a good showing of themselves against a WSL side. No secret about Newcastle United's aspirations to keep climbing up the football pyramid.
And it's such a hard league to get promoted from, with just the one team to go up. And the likes of, you know, Charlton are there at the top, but Bristol have gone down into that championship this season. You've got Durham, London City, who've had a lot of financial support and backing. Obviously the local rivals Sunderland are in there as well. Really competitive league.
Certainly feels like there's no easy games, and it does indeed make for a very exciting league. You know, the likes of Birmingham, who came from so far behind when they started last season. Didn't make a great start, but still finished well up there and pushed Crystal Palace all the way. Bristol City, of course, who have so much WSL experience as a club and a setup. And with one up, one down, it's certainly always a challenge to be in that top position, but as we've already seen from the early games from Newcastle United, undefeated in the league. Made a very good start, and the substitution, the changes they've made tonight, as you say, Lindsay, just testament to the depth that they have at this level.
And I think that that's a massive asset to have, that you've got depth in squad, but you've got the infrastructure and you've got the backing of the club behind you. And Newcastle United definitely back their women's side. We've seen it just grow massively in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's testament to the players and the manager that they are where they are, but they just want to keep growing.
So those changes confirmed eventually over the tannoy.
Slightly delayed.
Joel back to her keeper. A warm reception for Emma Kelly, making her first appearance of the season. But coming on and needing to step up when Newcastle are under pressure, all level here at Kingston Park. To weather the Everton storm.
Barker's worked really hard. First half, a real attacking threat, but second half, it had to really help her side out with defensive duties, and I think she's done it really well on this left-hand side for Newcastle, right-hand side for Everton. The fans aren't shy here, are they? They're telling the ref everything. There's a few stolen steps by Payne here on the throw-in, and the crowd definitely let the ref know.
We're a very passionate crowd. That's the ball. Powerful shot from distance towards the keeper, but watched all the way. Newcastle in a good position in terms of players returning from injury. Emma Kelly included in that, who's had to watch from the sidelines the start of the championship campaign after a frustrating summer with injury, and Jodie Bartle on her way back as well. 1,379 confirmed as the attendance here at Kingston Park. A noisy bunch enjoying the football so far, and I like the look of that. And Alicia Body taking the shot on from distance. More of that is what the fans will want.
It just drops for her on just outside, 10 yards outside the box, and she hits it first time. And Brosnan has to make sure she gets two hands firmly behind it.
Newcastle just looking a little bit more hurried with their clearances now, with the presence of Katja Snoys just lurking centrally between the two centre-backs. Body. Over to Barker. Driving forward, she's got support from Lois Joel. Just drops back and continues to be under pressure from Heather Payne, and well, wins a free kick in a dangerous position now for Newcastle, and that's a decision that the fans are very happy with.
And I think it's the right decision. Payne doesn't need to put two hands on Barker there. It's 1v1 in the corner. Payne's got cover behind her, but it's really good. This ball driven out by Body to Barker on the left-hand side, and then she tries, lovely turn there, rolls Payne, and it's 1v1. You can see that she's got cover, Payne, but puts both hands on Barker. And Barker goes down, rightfully so, wins the free kick.
See a Body over this, one arm raised. In swinging ball, nicely weighted, no one really there could find the height. Ooh. And well, that was almost something incredibly special for Georgia Gibson and Newcastle United, and it's a good save in the end from Courtney Brosnan, but take a look at this.
Yeah, so the free kick in there from Body, and it's firstly won by Everton, and she just hooks it, doesn't she, but gets some power on it. And if Brosnan doesn't get her fingertips to that, that's just sneaking in underneath the post, underneath the crossbar, sorry.
Well, that
Really
would have
good
been
effort.
some goal.
That might have been her first touch of the ball, possibly.
Well, she's being used as a hoist here now, although that attack dissipates. Can she get the shot away? Not quite, and Everton clear. She was being prepared to sort of launch Rachel Furness off her back before they opted for the short corner routine, and now Furness on the ball. Falls nicely once again to Gibson, but she can't quite control it, and Van Avermaet steering that one away and towards Sari. Snoyce is making the run, but so 4 or 5 Newcastle defenders. Payne. Tony Payne, nice ball. Everton players appealing, and a shake of the head, quick shake of the head from Grace Lowe.
Yeah, I agree. It was good defending. No penalty for me. But it's a quick transition from Everton. But Newcastle did fantastically well to recover centrally into position and just bulk up in that central midfield area at the back as well, in that central area, just making it difficult for Everton.
Do feel, based off the course of the last 15 minutes or so, if there is to be a winner in this game that is rapidly coming to its conclusion, that it will come from a counter-attack. Sari, well picked out by Rachel Furness. Can't really clear it too far, Van Avermaet.
I think Body is definitely, Alicia Body for Newcastle United have definitely injected some pace and intensity to that midfield, the same way Wheeler did.
So a reminder, if it is level at 90 minutes, we will go straight to penalties. Each team awarded 1 point apiece, and then the extra point will come from the shootout. Van Avermaet just has that height, the physicality to keep Katie Barker at bay there.
Yeah, she's got a slight advantage, hasn't she? Used her body well. Another player with international experience for Belgium. Very composed player.
Either side wanting to leave that extra point to chance, and penalties. Ollison catches Noyce. That's well picked out. Alicia Body once again.
Excellent defending from Alicia Body. Reads the pass really well and just gets into that central position. Snoyce's first touch was very good, but her Body able to just get a tackle in, stops a shot on goal.
Heather Payne in space, nicely weighted ball, catches Snoyce is there. Hawkins collects well. Under pressure from Sari and Snoyce.
Good game management from Hawkins as well. She understands her team are under the cosh a little bit. She can see that they're blowing, just taking some time. Kicks from hands as well.
Could we be heading to penalties? No extra time in the FA Women's League Cup. Gaps opening up. Visari takes the shot, and it fizzes past the post and out.
Really good effort there by Everton. Close, nearly creeps in that far post as well. Newcastle do look out on their feet at the moment. I think they're trying to just get to penalties. You can see here, there, that Everton win it back in midfield. That's that ball from Wheeler. just plays Sari in, and then she takes a shot on her left foot. Just narrowly misses that far post.
Well, the clock is ticking. And as things stand, we are heading to penalties here at Kingston Park.
This second half has seen Everton find their form and link up better going forward. But Newcastle have worked really hard defensively to stay in their ranks, limit spaces for Everton to play in.
That one overhit by young Izzy Hobson. Heather Payne couldn't get on to the end of it, and
Just a quick reminder, folks, with this being Women's League Cup action, if, and it is an if,
well, Newcastle
this is in a draw,
with the scoreline level,
but there will be penalties.
they will feel like this has still been a very good test, particularly in this second half when plenty of regular starters, names that for a handful of these players, maybe a few more, will be the first names on the team sheet for Brian Sorensen. They've stood strong. They'll have to keep their stability though, because Everton are continuing to push for all 3 points.
I think that they're working extremely hard, Newcastle, in these last few minutes. Everton really piling on the pressure. I think it'd be harsh if Everton got a winner here. But Newcastle still look threatening on the counter.
Nurse Jola assessing her options as the ball comes back into play, and she spends a lot of time bouncing around in the air. A lot of tired bodies out there on, well, both sides of the pitch. Heather Payne. Stanovic. Ollison in plenty of space, finds Van Alvermaet. Not completely comfortable with the ball at her feet, Van Alvermaet, and Visari with a shot, well collected by the keeper. Well, you can see, I think Van Alvermaet, she did get one goal towards the end of last season against Spurs, but it was a poke over the line with the tip of her toe, and you can just see she's not confident striking, even within that range.
And you've got to do that as a elite football player. You've got to take the shots on when those opportunities arise. But you see big gaps opening now in this Newcastle defence. Everton are able to carve through and really pile on the pressure.
4 minutes of additional time.
Newcastle have got to stay focused. You can see here they look organised again, back in their ranks. Looking at that, 2 banks of 4. And Amy Andrews has been an isolated player, hasn't she, since she's come on. Left up top on her own. Not had the same link-up play as the 3 forwards in the first half of Sibley and Hayward and McQuaid.
Definitely looks if something's going to happen for Newcastle, it will come on the counter. Olivia Watt getting back up onto her feet. And a corner for Everton.
They've got some threatening players from set pieces. The obvious one is Van Havermaet with her height, but then also Wheeler, Meg Finnegan. All these players need to be picked up by Newcastle.
And you can see black and white rushing in from various angles to pick up those players. Out-swinging ball. Stenovic off the post! And Hawkins does so well to guard that near post and get down to her knees very quickly.
See, it's a really good whipped in corner. And it's Stenovic reacts quick first. And then Hawkins get the second. It's Snoyce, isn't it, who gets that rebound, but Hawkins is able to use her body and react quick. Stop that going into the back of the net.
And for a keeper making her first start of the season, that's particularly impressive. She'll need to carry that adrenaline, you imagine, as we're into the last 60 seconds of additional time, and this one looks like we're headed to penalties. She'll need to keep that going as there's they're trying to move that quickly. Izzy Hobson's down. And the Newcastle United players weren't particularly happy because they thought that she'd gone down still within the bounds of the pitch and could try to continue play.
See
They
here.
tried to get her off, and so Newcastle were trying to get Hobson off the pitch. Everton were trying to get her back on.
She was definitely off the pitch.
Well, she doesn't look completely comfortable, does she? Seems with the way that her legs are being raised that let's hope that it's just cramp, as she suggested further off the pitch. Hasn't been a good week for Everton and injuries. 2 ACL injuries confirmed within a week, Aurora Gali and Garbalo. That's a nice ball. No one there to get back to it. Gibson does, and she's driving forward. Relentless from Georgia Gibson. The ball flying around, and when it's moving like that, just hard for anyone really to get on it convincingly.
Yeah, when there's only a few seconds or a couple of minutes left in the game, then it becomes even more erratic. Newcastle really going for it here.
The clock has ticked over the allotted 4 minutes, but a similar situation to what we had in the first half. As Gibson tries to go from distance because of that injury time. Well, there we go. The referee, Georgia Lowe, blows the whistle, and we will be on our way to penalties. So each team awarded 1 point apiece, and the remaining point will be decided through penalties. Well, Newcastle making their debut in the competition. Lindsay Johnson, in terms of what we've seen in the first 90 minutes, what did you make of that as a debut for Newcastle United?
I think it's been a really good, solid performance. I thought first half they were by far the best team, the only team in it. Really looked dangerous going forward, like we've said, with Haywood linking up fantastically well with Sibley on that right-hand side. Really give Lucy Hope a torrid time. But the back four as well, led by Furness and Potts, just was so commanding and really looked for some fantastic balls to play their forwards in as well. So really good first half. Second half, Everton definitely come into the game, found their form, found their feet and changed the personnel, which changed the fortune for them as well. But Newcastle have been able to stay with them. They conceded a goal, but after that really got themselves back in the game and made it hard for Everton. So overall, I think Becky Langley will be really impressed and proud. Plus, she's got lots of players on the pitch tonight. Lots of players have got minutes against a WSL side. Their first taste against the WSL side this season. So I think she'll be really pleased with that performance.
And what will be the instructions now from the manager? I assume arranging the order of how these penalties are going to be taken.
Well, I'd hope that she already has a 5, but I'm just looking over to the dugout, and it looks like everybody's in there, and everybody wants a pen by the looks of it. And that's what you'd expect from this Newcastle side, and that's what you'd want. But I'm sure they've got the 5 already organised, and it'll just be a case of, do you still fancy it? Do you think, it's going to be your night tonight? And go from there. And it's anything can happen in penalties, and it's really good for Hawkins, isn't it, for her first appearance tonight. She's going to then face penalties against some fantastic players with Everton. They've got some really good international players, technically gifted players as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how this unfolds.
Yeah, so long without a start for Hannah Hawkins, and out of the 2 goalkeepers, she was the busiest in terms of having to make saves at the end of that second half, and potentially carrying some of that adrenaline through. Could be useful for the Newcastle United goalkeeper. We do know, however, Courtney Brosnan, such an experienced shot stopper for Everton. So the ends being decided between the 2 captains. And as we look at it, it'll be the goal on the left-hand side of the pitch that will be used. As the Newcastle United team thank the fans for their support. The 2 goalkeepers embrace as they track over towards the goal.
It's interesting. I was never first choice for a penalty taker, but I always volunteered. And my thought process was hit as hard as possible and keep it low. I'm sure things have moved on since then, because some penalty you see some penalties into the top corners, and the technique that some of these elite players use now are fantastic. So hopefully we're in for some good pens.
Van Alvermaet for Everton, the first to step up, and a player who didn't look too confident, taking a shot on in front of goal towards the end of that second half. She's first to go. Sends the keeper the wrong way.
Really composed penalty by Van Havermaet. That's where your experience comes in. She's an international player. It wasn't a great penalty, it wasn't in the corners, but she sent the keeper the wrong way. And that's all you need to do, and then get it on target.
Amy Andrews next up, who scored at the weekend. Places the ball down on the spot. Couldn't find the back of the net. Often cut a lone figure in the second half. Looking to make her mark now against Courtney Brosnan. Andrews, saved by Brosnan.
Good penalty save. Andrews hit it with power, but just not far enough into the corner. Brosnan guesses the right way and makes a solid save to her right.
And straight over to bring her back to her team is Rachel Furness. As Katja Snoys next up receives the ball from her goalkeeper. And what you can't see off the screen is the Newcastle team embracing Amy Andrews, who holds her head to the sky. Katja Snoys. Goes the same way and sends the keeper the same but wrong way again.
It was a copycat of Van Havermaet's penalty. Exactly, just off to the right of the centre. Sent Hawkins the wrong way. And that's a skill in itself, isn't it? Your body position, your eyes, that's what the keeper picks up on.
Georgie Gibson scored at every competitive game at St James's Park, and we know she's got a powerful boot on her. But once again, Courtney Brosnan.
Fantastic from Courtney Brosnan. This time it was to Brosnan's left. Are they retaking it?
Well, yeah, discussion between the referee, encroachment potentially from Courtney Brosnan, and Megan Finnegan's being sent back to line up. And Georgie Gibson, well, this is a test of your nerve. Gibson saved again.
Well, that's excellent from Courtney Brosnan. She definitely did encroach on that first one. You saw her come off the line, but then to have to reset, Gibson goes the other way. It becomes a game of mind games then, doesn't it? Are you going to go the same way? Are you going to go the other way? And Brosnan got that right. Another strong save.
Megan Finnegan, the captain. Third penalty. And another converted for Everton. 3 from 3. And now this will be decisive for Newcastle. Rachel Furness, who wore the armband for the end of the game. Such a leader. Looking to turn the tide here for Newcastle United. She needs to score this. And saved from Courtney Brosnan.
That's excellent. Goalkeeper penalty saves from Courtney Brosnan. 3 saves in a row, very solid saves. You know, and Everton go on to get that extra point, but disappointment from Newcastle. But overall in those 90 minutes, they'll be pleased and proud of the performance. But obviously disappointed with the penalties at the end of the game.
Exactly, disappointment. Missing out on that bonus point, but what can you do? Courtney Brosnan, an exceptional show of goalkeeping to deny Newcastle United on 3 occasions from the spot. Everton take the extra point, but lots, as you say, Lindsay Johnson, to be excited about from a Newcastle perspective, who started out making 7 changes from the team who started and beat Portsmouth in the league at the weekend. And well, they'll be tested once again, I say once again, on multiple occasions through the group stage of this cup competition by WSL opponents, but that's not a bad first showing in this competition at all.
Yeah, I think Becky Langley would be really pleased with that performance overall. Disappointed to lose on penalties, but like you say, going forward, they've got Liverpool, they've got Manchester United. Some might say probably stronger competition than this Everton side, who are still finding their feet in this the start of this league. But that first half performance from Newcastle was excellent. I think they'll take lots of positives from that. And the second half, when they went to goal down, they still able to work hard and be organised to not concede another goal and take the game to penalties.
So Newcastle in their huddle, plenty to be excited about if you're watching on as a Newcastle United fan. A good performance overall. 1 point on the board in the FA Women's League Cup, making an impressive debut in their first game of the competition here at Kingston Park. It's finished here. Newcastle United 1, Everton 1, and Everton taking the extra point on penalties.